Killers of the Flower Moon is the newest Martin Scorsese movie. I was very excited to check out this movie. Back a couple of months ago when Dune Part 2 was delayed, I thought to myself, what do I have left? What do I have left now that Dune Part 2 is delayed? And this was one of the few movies to come to mind, if not the only movie. And it all lied on the shoulders of Martin Scorsese. Premiered quite a while ago at one of the film festivals, and it's held very strong word of mouth, and I've now finally seen it. And this movie has a monster runtime of 3 hours and 27 minutes, which is, by the way, the longest movie I have seen in a theater to date. I cannot think of a movie I've seen that's I mean, I've seen longer movies, but not in the theater. Its runtime is something I was a little concerned about because obviously I've never sat in a theater for that long. I think the longest movie I've seen in the theater before is probably I think Avatar: The Way of Water. So I was like, well, it can't be. It's 15 minutes longer, but I didn't know. Obviously, Avatar: The Way of Water is not Killers of the Flower Moon. So I just thought maybe the runtime would drag for me. I didn't really know. And I'll be honest, it did not feel like 3.5 hours to me at all. It felt more like 2:45, maybe 3. And that's a great thing. But the weird thing about it is also I can see a cut of this movie that'd be slightly better where you take out maybe 30 minutes. So I feel like there's a great fantastic 3-hour cut of this. And it's weird because the movie felt like 3 hours to me. So it went by at a very, very smooth pace. It's just by the time it ended, I was like, we could have cut some of that. But at the same time, it's Martin Scorsese. He should be allowed to do whatever he wants. And I also want to point out that in a lot of ways, this movie, experience wise, reminds me a lot of Oppenheimer. And I'm not just saying that just because that movie just came out, but they're both movies that are very long about something that happened by a director that clearly cares a lot about this historical significant event. And obviously, in Oppenheimer, it's a little bit more grand than Killers of the Flower Moon, which is obviously still like a huge tragedy, but they're completely two different movies. They're very similar in how I experience them because both of them are very, very well crafted movies, and both of them have a lot of thought put into its filmmaking, its performances, its screenplay. A lot of big, heavy themes with both. I definitely felt the same where I just walked out of this theater just overwhelmed, thinking to myself, "I need to think." And both times with both of these movies, I gave it maybe an hour or two, maybe 3. I thought about it and I was like, that was fantastic. And that's how I feel with this movie. I think this is a fantastic movie. I think this is top 10 of the year so far. When I was adding this to my Letterboxd 2023 list, I thought to myself, oh God, I have a top 10 that I like. So whenever I see a movie from now on that I think is top 10 material, I'm going to either have to not put it in and be heartbroken about it or take one out and be heartbroken about that. So that just goes to show that 2023 has been a great year for film. Anyway, let's talk more about Killers of the Flower Moon. This is Lily Gladstone's movie. She's not the lead, sadly, but she gives the best performance and she shines throughout. And I really hope that she could get nominated for actress, which I believe she will, but I really would like to see her win. But I just don't think she has the screen time to really say it's justified when considering the competition as well. So it's going to be a close race, I think, but I really think she could do it. De Niro's back for this movie, and DiCaprio's here again. It's the first time they've been together for a Scorsese movie, and they both performed. Neither one of them did anything that made me go, "Oh wow!" But I remember at one moment, De Niro really blew my mind with, and it wasn't a line delivery, it was just a look on his face when some information was revealed. I was like, oh my God, he is here and he's not playing around. I remember there's a lot of moments with De Niro. I was like, he's great. And I think he's one of the greatest actors of all time, if you ask me. So I can't complain about De Niro. DiCaprio, I love DiCaprio as well. In fact, he might be my favorite actor. I didn't think he necessarily blew my mind with this movie, but he was very, very good. And there is one scene that sticks with me, and it is I can't say it, but he delivers a piece of information to Lily Gladstone's character, and he doesn't necessarily say it. He says it. I think he says one word, and with the look on his face, and with Lily Gladstone just continuously shining in this movie, that interaction right there was one of my favorite parts of the movie. And I hate to say it because it's such a tragic part of the movie, but performance, direction wise, I just was blown away by the presence there. Scorsese has made long movies before. When I think this is maybe his best paced long movie that I've seen. There's a lot of Scorsese films I still haven't seen. I've seen about 9, So I don't know if I can really speak for that. I will say I think this, from what I've seen, is maybe his best edited movie. I think the editing here is really, really good in another way that reminded me a lot of Oppenheimer because it's really, really precise, perfectly timed. And I know he's sticked with the same editor for like forever. And hats off to her. I don't remember her name, but I really hope she gets a nomination at the Oscars, which I think she will. I think there's a lot of nominations that I'm hoping for, which is almost a near guarantee at this point because I know this has been a huge awards contender ever since it premiered at whatever film festival that was. There's also a lot of big actors that showed up that I was kind of unaware was in the movie, particularly one towards the end where I was like, I knew you were in the movie, but I did not know you were in this movie. I don't want to say anything. What I really found fascinating with this movie is that there's a lot of big tropes that a regular filmmaker would go with that Scorsese kind of gracefully avoids. And I think a lot of that has to do with how he handled the Osage culture. A lot of movies nowadays would have this Osage presence as being 100% squeaky clean, best people ever. I understand that you want to send positive messages about people who repressed, but Scorsese doesn't do that with this movie. He allows for the Osage to be flawed. They are not perfect people either. Obviously, what people like DiCaprio and De Niro are doing in this movie are far worse than anything they ever do, but they are never squeaky clean. They're never 100%. But it also makes it feel a lot more real. It makes it feel a lot more authentic and genuine and true to the story that Scorsese's telling. So I really, really respect that direction that he went. And I think it paid off because I think at the end of the day, doing little decisions like that elevated the movie and really made it feel more impactful by the time that it ended. Because Scorsese understands that just because, yes, we're going to celebrate Osage culture, it also doesn't mean that every single one of these people are perfect because they're not. This is a very overwhelming movie, and I'm sure there is a lot that I'm leaving out. And I apologize about that because it's a movie that deserves to be talked about for quite a bit. But at the same time, it's 3 hours, 27 minutes. I can't constantly recall everything. And I've been home for a couple hours. And if I just sat down and tried to do it as soon as I got home, this would be a rambling mess of a video. I also want to take a quick second to point out that I went to go see this movie IMAX, and then an AMC person went out into the theater and said, "Oh, okay, we won't be able to show the movie until 3 now, which was 30 minutes. The show time is at 2:30. Then at 3 they come back into the theater and they say, "Sorry, the file was corrupted. We can't show it now. We'll give you guys a refund." So we sat in there in a IMAX theater, about 30 people. The AC wasn't working, and I had stale popcorn. It just was overall a really bad experience, and I had to go back to the front, get my ticket refunded, and then I went to Regal at a showtime that was a little bit later, and I had to watch it that way in a non-premium format, which is what I wanted. I wanted premium format for this movie, but no, had to see it in standard, which was perfectly fine. And so yeah, I'm gonna give Killers of the Flower Moon a solid 9 out of 10. Very great movie, great Scorsese movie. Not his best in my opinion, but honestly, with a rewatch, it could be one of his better ones. And that's the thing about Scorsese. His movies are so consistent, it's impossible to rank Scorsese movies. I feel like you can see a ranking of anybody's Scorsese list, it's gonna be different from the other person's because it's just he's so consistent and he's so good. You just never know where it's going to lie for other people. So yeah. Anyways, comment down below what you guys thought of Killers of the Flower Moon. Are you gonna see it in theaters or are you gonna wait for Apple TV Plus? So yeah. Anyways, like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that. And adios.